Okay, this is a different room. And I apologize. We had some technical troubles on the back end, so I hope you'll all find your way in here. I'm annoyed, but there's nothing anybody could have done, I suppose. We don't understand why it happened, and I hope there's a way for you all to find your way back in. I've tweeted the wrong web address, and I've posted on Facebook incorrectly, so boo. I'm sorry about that. Hopefully, I think Dave Hewitt is probably watching, and he can maybe make an announcement in the other room. I'm getting texts from Dave Hewitt right now. My apologies for the technical confusion. How are you? Thank you for being here. Hold on one second. Let me text the producer. Okay. Sorry. All right. Hi. How are you? Let's talk about week 2 stuff, and we have a game coming up here in a couple 3 hours, I think. That'll be fun, and fun to be here with you. And we have the glorious Los Angeles skyline behind me. There it is. The glorious Los Angeles skyline. That actually is the skyline. This actually is my window. See, I just have a covering in front of it because it would be too bright otherwise. You wouldn't be able to see me. You already kind of can't see me, right? So let's just talk. You guys can ask me questions. I feel like we know a little bit more now after 1 week, but probably not enough to really give you awesome answers. And frankly, it's hard on a one-off basis to know that for sure. I'm always giving you the right answer, but I can at least try to talk through some of your decisions, and if you have questions about players or situations, as I choke to death and have some water, avocado ice cream. Thank you for being tolerant and patient, and I'll hang out for an hour, and really looking forward to doing this. So let's see what you got. I got the camera here, I got the computer here, so I'm gonna look down to get your questions. Let's see. Jack says you're the bomb. Thank you. Yo-Yo's asks a wide receiver question, which I'm glad you did, Yo-Yo, because Curtis Samuel or Chris Godwin is a receiver question. I don't have my ranks memorized, but I'm pretty sure that I have Chris Godwin ahead of Curtis Samuel, so I would be using Godwin. But you can look at harrisfootball.com. You can see how close I have them in my ranks. That's single position ranks at harrisfootball.com. Hulk v. Spawn says, howdy, Chris. Armando, trade McCoy for David Montgomery. I mean, I think yes. I think if I were to put together, I will, as of next week on the website, put together the rest of the season ranks. And if I had done them this week, then I would have LaShawn McCoy lower than David Montgomery. But I feel like there's a way that trade goes badly for you, and that probably indicates that it's a fair trade, right? When we all love making slam dunk trades where you're just completely fleecing the other person, of course, but you can see where it goes wrong because Kansas City's offense is awesome. I think McCoy played what did I say on the show today? I can't remember. 18 snaps. It was like 38-18 or 38-20 or something like that. It could get different. There's no question about it. Cousin Josh just texted me and said, "Tonight is the end of Winston?" ? That's going to be an interesting question for tonight. National TV game. Not too many people saw Tampa against San Francisco, and they just saw the highlights about how bad it was. Yeah, it's a good question, Cousin Josh. Of course, he has no idea I'm doing this because he's in his own little world. He has no idea. He's just like, texting. Let's see. We got hashtag Come On You Spurs from Jared. Spencer, Ronald Jones, or Mike Williams in a 1 point per reception. If those are your only two choices for right now, we just know nothing about Mike Williams' knee. And the suspicion right now is he's not going to play. Going to have to lower him in the ranks. I haven't checked on the Charger practice yet today. My guess is he's not practicing. So he'd probably be leaving the ranks as of tomorrow if he doesn't practice. So since you don't have the luxury, if it's the only choice, I think you have to go Ronald Jones. Christopher says, what's up? Garrett says, thanks for the uploads. Couch42 says, the yacht looks relatively stable. Whoa. Wait, hold on. Whoa. Yeah. It's really stable. Yeah, it is. Aklam says, I'm late, but I'm here. Gizmo says, I'm Australian, and I still found it. I love it. I lost where I was in the stream. Where are you, Giz? Let's see if this works. Yeah. Trevor says, does Adrian Peterson have any PPR value? Sure. Yeah, of course. I mean, he was a 1,000-yard rusher last year. I think it's clear that Chris Thompson would be the preferred pass target, but pass-catching receivers, of course, can have value in standard. I'm not counting on it. I talked about them a little bit on flexural healing today on the show, on the podcast. But my feeling is I'd rather use neither this week. But I get it. Like going forward, I think Peterson's certainly ownable. As I like to say, there's a team in every league that can be adding Adrian Peterson. I would hope nobody would be starting Adrian Peterson this week. That would be my goal. JD says, welcome. Hey, everybody. His name is Chris, and he's about to put sound out of his mouth to his ears for an hour and a half. Privileged. Privileged. Hashtag possumly. Honk says, boomer tech. Oh, yeah. I'm going to say it wasn't the boomer problem in this time around. Rowan says, smash that like button. Indeed, smash that like button. In fact, we've got 291 people here. We're 6 minutes into the actual stream. 293 people. We should be able to come up with like 150 likes right now. So let's do that. Let's come up with 150 likes right now. Smash that like button. It helps the channel. I don't really care, except for just the YouTube search engine cares. So your comments here or your questions, that really helps us. And then the likes. We're up to 107. I like that. 129. Feels like we're going to get there pretty quick. 140. Oh, yeah. Here we are. And 148. Oh, so close. And 155. We did it. Actually, also, something that you could do that would help me out if you're not already doing it is subscribe. It's pretty easy to subscribe to a channel when you're watching the live stream. I don't have a way of like forcing you to do it because I'm not going to get like on the fly counting subscriptions, but it'd be really cool if you would. That would be sweet. Let's keep going with your questions. iHeart Beats. Drop Penny or Henderson for a tight end replacement for Olsen. Oh, a tight end replacement. Olsen, Graham, or Eifert. It's tough for me to know what your roster overall looks like in your format and stuff and who your tight end that you'd be dropping was, but maybe it was Hunter Henry. Sure. I mean, I don't think dropping Henderson is the worst thing in the world. We don't know what's going to happen. It's 1 week into his career, but he played very few snaps. He got very few carries in week 1. I'm going to hold on to him in a league where I have Todd Gurley, but if you don't, I'm cool with that. I get it. John says, no white shirts after Labor Day. Well, I'm afraid I don't agree. I'm afraid I like this shirt. It's a comfortable, nice shirt. It's good. Aaron says, welcome to the tube. Now, let's get to the tube. Let's see. Giz says, where's the yacht? You're looking at it. This is the window. It looks out Los Angeles. It's the yacht that looks out over LA. It's great. iHeartBeats says, should I hold on to Kareem Hunt in a 10-team league? I mean, it's sort of why I was sort of advising in the end, like, I don't even know, in a 10-team league, I don't know if he's draftable. It's tough. It's tough to hold a roster spot for a guy that you don't know what's going to happen and it's 10 weeks away, So I don't think it's mandatory to hold on to him. Smoot asks a quarterback question, Eli or Winston. And for all single possession questions, I would encourage you to go, I'm going to answer, but I would encourage you to go to harrisfootball.com and you can check out all the quarterback ranks, all the running back ranks, the wide receiver ranks, tight end, defense. Not kicker, because kickers should not be in fantasy football. I have Winston ahead of Eli. So if I was choosing, I would choose Winston. So all your single possession questions, I'm going to sort of gloss over because you can go check out the YouTube, the Harrison Ball website. Ross asks, Sony Michel or Michael Gallup in a full PPR? Let's not get too down on Sony Michel just yet. I think you would use Sony Michel here. Gallup had one really, really good game, and I think I may have said it on the show today. Like, if the Cowboys are the Rams, that was a really nice debut. If it wasn't the Giant defense as much as it was the Cowboy offense, then we'll be looking at Gallup very differently. We'll be looking at him like we look at, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, these Sammy Watkins when Tyreek Hill is there. That a team that can sustain lots and lots of weapons, but I don't look at the Cowboys that way after one game. Not so Slim Shady Moreno says, did you see bad things from Derek Carr in the last game? I thought he looked great. Haven't been a fan in the past. Not bad things, right? The thing that was most remarkable to me about that Broncos-Raiders game was the Broncos couldn't get pressure. And nobody thinks Derek Carr not under pressure is bad. Like, he knows, he does full field reads. He knows where to throw the ball. He's relatively accurate. I think his deep ball failings are actually kind of overstated. There's this feeling that, Antonio Brown would have been a bad fit for him anyway because Derek Carr can't go down the field. I don't know. I've seen him go down the field when he's had time in the past. His issue is just when he doesn't have time, he's a panic monster. He's runs around in the pocket. He'll drop the ball. He'll bang it off his own thigh and drop the ball. Like, he's not very good under pressure. So I think the story of that offense will be, man, if that offensive line is like it was 3 years ago or so, Derek Carr turned into a top 12 quarterback that year. I don't think it's impossible. I'm with you. The upshot, that was a long answer to say I think your observations are pretty good. Let us see. Matthew says, can I kind of trust Jared Cook? I think kinda is the right word. There were like back-to-back plays in that game Monday night where we were like, oh, Jared Cook. And then, oh, Jared Cook. Like, he completely was gone, right? That was the three faces of Jared Cook. I just did that little performance art right there. It's a one-man act I'm planning on off Broadway. Off LA Broadway. There is a Broadway. It's near the yacht. Let's just put it this way. I don't want to disclose. Obviously, I'm on the water, but there's a Broadway nearby. Not the right Broadway. I don't think Jared Cook is all that fun. I think he's going to have some games where he's fine, but he's a tight end, and I think the notion that I heard announced in that game, Drew Brees loves to throw the tight end. That was Booger McFarland. Oh, Booger. He's entertaining. He says a lot of wrong things, but he's entertaining. I haven't seen that too much recently. Let's see. Aklam says, O.J. Howard, what they got tonight? A bounce back. Maybe. I think O.J. Howard probably belongs in a little bit above Jared Cook class, but there are going to be weeks where it's a bummer. I said on the podcast a couple of times this week, Cameron Brate on the same drive, but Cameron Brate scored 2 touchdowns on the same drive, both called back by penalty. So if you're an O.J. Howard owner, I don't think I am. I don't think I have Howard anyway, but that's not what you want to see. You don't want to see, I remember being told O.J. Howard, last summer, I was told O.J. Howard can't be good because Jameis Winston and Cameron Brate have a thing. They're like, just the chemistry is too good. He'll never go away. That narrative got dropped because O.J. Howard started playing well. It looked like they had some pretty good chemistry in week 1, but I would be starting Howard for sure this week. Dave Ball says, should I start Mecole Hardman in week 2? I mentioned this briefly on the podcast today, I think, which of course only dropped like 3.5 hours ago. So I'm not ragging on you for not listening to it yet. Hopefully you will get to it at some point. I wouldn't be starting Mecole Hardman. This notion Tyreek Hill is out. Sammy Watkins obviously deserves a big bump. Mitch talked about him for DraftKings today. Makes a lot of sense for DraftKings. The thing is, Tyreek Hill got hurt in the first quarter last week in week 1, and I didn't see Mecole Hardman do anything, which isn't to say he can't make a big play because he's real fast. But D'Anthony Thomas comes back. They have Robinson there already. It just feels like I would need to see something kind of congeal around one of these guys, let alone the fact that Mecole Hardman wasn't impressive in college, was kind of just a speed guy, and that's all. It's a long way from here to there to me. I probably would not start him. But, I was saying don't start Marquise Brown until he does something good last week. So you can certainly get a surprise big game. I would be really surprised if Mecole Hardman is like getting double-digit targets, is getting 8 targets or whatever, but he's fast and could make a play. I probably wouldn't be making that bet, knowing that you probably have other options on your roster. Danny says, what are your thoughts on Stephon Diggs the rest of the season? Keep or sell? So I mean this with all due respect. I really do. And people start sentences with that and then offer no respect. I am offering respect. I promise you. The rest of the season is the whole season, basically. We have one game in which the Vikings threw it 10 times. I just don't think we draw any conclusions. So we've mentioned this in the podcast a few times. I'm never sure exactly what the overlap in the audience is, so I'll just say it again. There was this roto-world notion that was floated. Every time Stephon Diggs has been listed as not practicing, the 7 times that he's then played in his career, it was probably less than 7. They didn't say how many games. He's had a bad outing. And then Monday morning, people were like, see, we told you can't start Stephon Diggs when he doesn't practice the previous week. They threw it 10 times. I saw Stephon Diggs playing. His catch was fantastic. The announcers actually, who was it, the announcer? I can't remember who the announcer was. But actually, when they showed the replay, they said, wow, look at the acceleration of how he slows down and then hurries back up again and makes an amazing catch. Took a helmet-to-helmet hit on the play, by the way. It wasn't like Adam Thielen. If Thielen hadn't scored the touchdown, hard to predict touchdowns, people would be panicking on him too. The upshot is, my goodness, let's not panic after one game in which the Vikings threw 10 times. Do not sell on Stephon Diggs. Let's see. So I see a lot of single position questions. I'm going to keep mentioning. You can have 2 windows open, right? Just go to harrisfootball.com. Hit the ranks. You'll see my receiver ranks. So you get your answer. Let's see. What else we got? Would you drop? Mr. W says, would you drop Geronimo Allison? I can't say in all places that, in all teams, in all situations, that one bad game can't be a reason to drop somebody. I can't say that. I would rather say it, though. I would rather say that one game against the Bears, whose defense is turning out to be pretty legit after 1 week anyway, it seems like they are. I would like to say, can we get a little bit of a bigger sample size? And it's Aaron Rodgers, and there's a place down the road where, all I know is, all I heard from people who hump situation is Geronimo Allison's the one you want because he's the slot guy. It's Valdez-Scantling you don't want because they're going to focus on downfield stuff because of Devontae Adams, and all the underneath stuff's going to be open. And Geronimo, and so you didn't hear that from me because that's not really how I don't try to predict situations beforehand. But it's hard for me to then say, well, if you thought that, not you, but if someone thought that, it's hard to give up on that after 1 week. But again, in your situation, if you really need another player, if you have very short benches, if it's a very shallow league, I get it that sometimes you just roster churn. You just go through guys. There's always wide receiver 3s available, and so you'll get the Allison equivalent some other time. I get it if that's where you are. I see people continuing to ask wide receiver questions. You're not listening to me. Don't ask a wide receiver. You can if you want. I'm not going to read it out loud anymore. If you're asking this receiver or that receiver, I'm not going to answer it. You can just go to the website and you can get an answer. Let's see. Daniel says, should I sell high on Sammy Watkins or Josh Jacobs in a dynasty league? It's always a question of how high. I would imagine that Sammy, in a dynasty league, if people are experienced dynasty players, it would seem to me that it would only the selling would only happen so high. Is somebody really willing to give you Saquon Barkley for Sammy Watkins? If they are, I would do it. That was probably an extreme example, but something that we were really, really valuing very highly before the season, that maybe had a guy who had one bad game or one not so great game. Are they really going to give you, with Tyreek Hill coming back in a month and everybody kind of understanding what Sammy Watkins is in his career, it's huge injury risk. It depends on how high, right? But my feeling is sure, but winning now is awesome too. And let's just use him. I would say, let's just use these players and win. Unless someone's going to swoop in and say, here's Nick Chubb for him. Well, yeah, I'm going to do that, obviously, because Sammy Watkins is maybe a month away from going back to being the wide receiver 2, an injury-prone wide receiver 2, who's going to eat third on the Chiefs, right? Which is, I understand that's why you're asking the question. Let's see. What have I got here? Oh, I should mention the sponsor. I should mention BetDSI. BetDSI is sponsoring the show today. How many people in here? Give me a like. Well, I can't do the like thing because we already did likes. Just type it in the comments. Have you gotten a BetDSI account? Just say I have. Don't say I haven't, but say I have. Just type it say, I've gotten a BetDSI account. Yup, I've got one. Because BetDSI, basically, if you're looking for a place to play point spreads, I play at BetDSI. You don't have to. There are other places you could. I recommend it. I've had an account there for 4 years. It's the best thing I can say about it is it works. I mean, I don't have to think about it. I just go there and I don't think about it. I go to the website, I hit 3 buttons, and I have a wager done. So against the spread last week, 10-4, this guy. That was pretty good. Hopefully that'll continue. It probably won't, but that was all right. And I had the Broncos. I could have been 11-3. It's a bummer. So this week, I think I have a good thing I can ask you all. What's your lock of the week against the spread? Just type it in. What's your lock of the week? Who do you got? You're sure this point spread, this is the best one. Your number one confidence in your confidence pool. And maybe I'll sway my own playing. I have to pick 5 of them for the super contest. Went 3-2 in the super contest. Went 10-4 overall and 3-2 in the super. The super contest is supposed to be the 5 you're most sure about. And I went 7-2 in ones that I was not extra sure about. Damn it. Stupid Browns. So tell me what you think. But anyway, my thing about BetDSI is if you've been looking for a place to play the games, do it. I go to betdsi.com. We actually have 2 promo codes that you can use. One of them is Harris Tube. That's if you're like kind of a veteran player, you've been around a long time, use the promo code Harris Tube. They'll match your deposit. Whatever you deposit, you can play with twice that. Now, you can't just immediately withdraw twice that because they would be handing you money and they would go out of business. But they have a formula where if you play a lot, eventually that money that you're playing with becomes more and more yours. It's like a pretty standard formula. DraftKings has a similar formula right now too. If you just want to make a couple of bets and then maybe think about cashing out, use Harris Tube 5 as a promo code, and they'll match 5% of your deposit, which isn't bad, but also they don't have the draconian withdrawal policies, right? You can pretty much have whatever you deposit right away, not the 5%. But do it. I mean, it's super fun. I sit there on a Monday night and I'm like, I got nothing. I don't care about this game. Denver, Oakland, don't care. Oh, I made a bet. Now I care. And I'll bet $10, right? But it's still fun to root. So betdsi.com, do it. I like it. Tell me what your number one match, your number one spread pick for the week is, and maybe I'll be swayed. Let's see. Okay, back at it. Are you wearing Montenbaugh jeans? Says Voltaire. I'm not, but you know what? I wish I could show you the tag. This shirt's Montenbaugh for sure. I got Montenbaugh on. I think I'm contractually obligated. They're not sponsoring, but I'm pretty much contractually obligated to always wear the Montenbaugh. Voltaire says, better Hunter Henry replacement rest of the season, Austin Hooper or Greg Olsen? Yeah, they're kind of the same guy. And Olsen used to be such a super freak, and he's kind of not anymore. There feels like to me they're kind of the same. Probably Hooper. I just have way more injury concerns about Olsen, but I don't love Hooper. I wanted to. I watched the film this summer. Wanted to. Didn't. William says, would you drop Darius Geis? I mean, it comes down to what you're dropping him for, but it's tough to hold on to. In a lot of leagues, it's tough. I'm in deeper leagues where I'm going to hold on to him because what's on the waiver wire? There's nothing, right? But if you're in a league where there's legitimate guys, T.J. Hawkinson sitting there on the waiver wire, I would rather probably roster T.J. Hawkinson than Darius Geis out for 6 to 8 weeks minimum and then working his way back. Like, I could see that argument for sure. Let's see. Sean, this is a good question. Start Minshew, Chris Godwin, or Marlon Mack in a Superflex league. The advice with Superflex leagues is always, just use the quarterback, right? But what about the rookie playing his first road game who isn't a super highly touted dude, and you've got really good options like Marlon Mack and Chris Godwin? I mean, so I would probably play Mack over Godwin. But as far as the QB versus Mac, it's so tough. I'd probably play the QB. I got to be honest, I probably would, but I don't know how it's going to work out. I mean, there's just a lot of opportunities for quarterbacks to rack up points and play okay. And essentially, Godwin or Mac needs to score a touchdown to get up to them. As long as Jacksonville, he doesn't throw 5 interceptions and Jacksonville scores a couple of touchdowns, hopefully one of them's passing, you're going to get 14 points out of him, right? And you're going to laugh because it's not very many. But for Mac or Godwin to get 14 points, they got to do something, right? I'm talking myself in and out of it. I think it's a tough decision. I might play the quarterback. Tim says, could you riff a little on Stafford, the good, the bad? Let's see. I lost that. Let's get back to it. It was a good question. Come on, dude. Where is it? Okay. I didn't see the full question, but it was riff on Stafford was the suggestion. And I'm starting to scroll down to your point spread picks, which I'm interested in. So Stafford in that game, it was okay. He was okay. I mean, honestly, he was getting beat up. It wasn't a very good offensive line performance. It felt to me like he was Superman a little bit, like making crazy throws out of crazy positions, being hit, falling down, falling sideways. Good in that he got them the big lead. I didn't feel like it was his fault they lost the big lead. It was a combination of the defense getting tired and the coaching staff in Detroit just, Darrell Bevell calling a timeout for no reason. Stafford had it. I thought he was good. And they threw a lot, and I mean, relatively speaking, and the running game didn't work all that well, and the offensive line had some questions, and there's a world where Stafford works his way into QB1. Of course there is, because that's just the nature of the position right now. I don't feel like you need to come anything close to rostering him like that right now, but I've always thought Stafford was pretty good. I've always thought Stafford, he definitely could be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. If Nick Foles can be one, if Joe Flacco can be one, if Eli Manning can be one, Matt Stafford can be one. And it comes down to he will not be the one driving the bus, obviously. In most cases, the quarterback is the one who drives the bus and is the great player and drags everybody, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady style, to Ben Roethlisberger. But yeah, Stafford is not at that level, clearly, but I don't think he stinks. All right, so I'm getting to your – Mohammed says, I lost my family gambling. Well, don't do that. If Antonio Brown does something stupid alone in a remote forest and there's no one there to see it, is it still stupid, says Jesse. Yes, by definition it would be, but I'm sure ESPN would have somebody there. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. All right, point spreads. Tampa Bay, says David. I actually have Tampa tonight, but I don't know if I agree that it would be what I would be super confident about. Adam says Raiders home. I think they're like a 8.5 point, 7.5 maybe. Ben says he's going to take Pats. He's going to give the 18.5 or 19. Oh, good luck. Honk says Packers over Vikings. Carlos says he likes Tampa Bay. I got a Miami. I got a Cardinals going to Baltimore with the big. Yeah, Tyler. You're not wrong. It's really tough for me to have Baltimore suddenly give that many points. You're not wrong, Tyler. Igloo says Chiefs or Lions. Chiefs going to Oakland. We talked about Lions. Yeah, I kind of think the Lions are being maybe a little undervalued as well. Lawrence says Miami, and I have to say, I know that somebody else just said New England. I'm going to be on Miami in my real life for sure. I mean, I'm tempted to put them in the Super Contest. How many times has New England gone down and lost outright, including last year, to Miami that had no business winning? Things weird. It's hard to win by 20 points. It is hard to win by 20 points, even though the Patriots just did it. Yeah, Tom said, I see a Pittsburgh. I see a Miami. I see another Pittsburgh. I don't think Dustin says they're plus 4.5. I think you meant minus 4.5. Panthers, says Tom. Let's see. Do I have other ones? I got Curtis saying Washington. I kind of like Washington at home too. That number's too big for Dallas on the road. I tell you, a divisional game where the road team is favored by a lot early in the season. That is, I think over time, if we did a research project on that, I think people have. I like the underdogs in those cases, the home dogs. Okay. Charles says, I saw you had Mixon ranked behind Devontae Freeman. Is his injury kind of baked into that? Yeah, definitely. Definitely. If he sat and Gio played, would you have Gio above Freeman? I don't think I would, no. I think it would still be Freeman. But Mixon, that's just because I don't think he's as good as Mixon, right? But I think at this point, with what we know about Mixon, it feels like he's still going to play to me. It feels like it's sort of a runaround, but let's see. And it's going to be scary to trust him. It is going to be scary because it's one of those where you just don't know. I would say, if anything, Mixon, depending on how the reports go, and he's just fine, he's got some upward mobility that I don't feel like Gio would have. Let's see. Colin says, are you doing rest of the season ranks this year? I will be. Starting next week, I will be indeed. Adam says, will you talk Cam Newton? Sure, I can do that. I did it on the podcast today, probably at smarter length, so take a listen to the podcast. Does everybody know about the podcast? I have a podcast. It's pretty popular. A lot of people listen to that podcast. I'm sort of stunned and very, very pleased and thankful. So harrisfootball.com is where you can find my podcast. I do 5 of them every week. So if you only know me from YouTube, that's fun. That's cool for me because many, many people know me from the podcast and from ESPN days and stuff. harrisfootball.com. That's where the podcast is. Or you can just find it on iTunes or wherever you find podcasts. Harris Football. Cam Newton. Yeah, I didn't think he played well last week at all. I think the good side of what we saw out of Cam against the Rams was at least the arm did legitimately look like it was strong again. He immediately came out and fired some darts on kind of deep sideline outs, like 15-yard sideline outs where the ball's traveling a good 25 yards in the air on a line in a way that most NFL quarterbacks maybe even struggle with. But Cam clearly had that, so that's good. The bad was he played terribly. I mean, he was indecisive. He was inaccurate throwing the ball. Yeah, it was bad. And it feels to me like the Rams were watching it happen and going in the second half, like, let's back off. We don't need to let's just hand it to Gurley. Like, we don't need to push the envelope and throw like we normally do because I don't think they thought Cam was going to beat them. And that last drive gave a lot of yards to McCaffrey and got them in the end zone. But, it was kind of just the Rams saying, great, let's take time off the clock. I think he'll be better against Tampa. I think he'll be, I still have Cam ranked as a top 12 quarterback at the moment. He didn't run a lot. Hopefully we see him run a little more. It's one game. But yeah, he didn't play well. I would say the worst quarterback performance of the week last week was Winston. The second worst was probably Trubisky, but I think Newton might have been the third. I mean, I'm not really remembering them all exactly, but I said that on the show today, so I'm just going to stick with it. Again, people are asking me wide receiver questions. If you have a wide receiver question or a running back question, just go to harrisfootball.com. The answers are all there. My opinion is baked into those answers. I promise. Sean says, given recent events, how many touches do you guess Antonio Brown will get? Yeah, I mean, it would be a total guess. My guess is he'll play enough to be, I ranked him like in the mid-20s among receivers, which is a total sellout rank. Obviously, I don't know what's going to happen any more than you do. But my guess is he'll get 6 targets. It's just sticking my finger in the wind like I don't know. I don't know any more than you do, obviously. My feelings are, yeah. Okay, I must be pretty far behind because people are still asking me about individual questions. So I'm going to catch up a little bit. Nick says, how about Allen Robinson or Duke Johnson? That's a pretty good one. I think I'd probably go Allen Robinson. And I admit maybe my answer would have been different before week 1. It isn't so much that I'm trying to overreact to what Allen Robinson did because it was good, but it's much more that, Carlos Hyde's a thing. Yeah, I mean, you got to say all the way through that game, we all watched that game. Anybody who watched the early Monday night game, Carlos Hyde immediately was a thing. He played in the first series. He started the first series, had the first 2 carries of the game. He played in the second series. He got involved all the way through. I think Carlos Hyde's more of a thing than anybody wanted to admit he might be, and that doesn't make Duke Johnson unusable, but I guess if I'm comparing him to Allen Robinson, I'd probably play Robinson. Again, single position questions. I'm going to get down to the bottom, and I'm not going to see any single position questions. I'm sure of it. By the way, okay, we're at 274 likes, but we have 424 people watching. Feels like we should be able to get to 325 likes really quickly. 325 likes like that. Let's see it. And if you've already liked, then subscribe. Subscribe to the channel because that really helps us out. Again, what we're trying to do to get you to like it or to subscribe or leave comments is we're trying to manipulate. I'm be completely honest. We're trying to get to manipulate the YouTube search engine. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, and if people type in fantasy football, we want to come up, right? We're trying to, so likes and comments and subscriptions, for whatever reason, we know that they're part of the algorithm. So we already got to 350. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Come on. How good are you guys? Also subscribe, please. Okay. Let's see. Doug says, Tariq Cohen or Jarvis Landry to PPR? I'm going to say Cohen, and I'm trying not to be too freaked out and too influenced by one game. from the Browns. It was terrible. But I think it was terrible because they committed so many penalties, 180 whatever yards in penalties. I like to think that I would have said Cohen anyway before the season started, but it's a legit question because obviously they're both potential PPR monsters. Weird that Tariq Cohen lined up like 2 snaps in the backfield, but certainly caught the ball a bunch. Bump to Run says, what's your take on Austin Eckler long term? Should I look to trade him? I don't have Melvin Gordon. Well, I am. So let's see. Let's back up. What I said all summer was, I'm not so sure Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson are all that different. I would be concerned that they're going to be used very similarly and that the work will be split. Week 1 showed that was not the case, maybe going forward, but not in week 1. So I'm adjusting on the fly and going, yeah, I think that's probably not that wasn't a smart take. I think Eckler looks like a pretty clear lead back and Justin Jackson looks more like a supplemental back. And the lead back for the Chargers, especially as a pass catcher, has value. I mean, that's a good team. It's a good offense. It was a better offensive line than people were telling us it might be with all the injuries. So my initial reaction is maybe just ride it out. Like, I guess if what you're saying is I got such a team that I can't even play him, then fine. I think selling him, but you're selling him as a starting running back potentially for the entire season, potentially for at least half the season. We don't know what Gordon's going to do, right? But I also don't mind it if you find yourself needing a running back. Or a flex or whatever. I don't mind just saying, Eckler, you're in for a good long while. If you don't get a trade offer that you like. In other words, I think it would have to be pretty high for it to happen. But sure, I don't mind doing it. Devin Singletary or his teammate John Brown at the flex. That's a really good one. I don't have a super strong decision for you, but I will talk about them for you. I've talked a lot about Singletary. If you watched the YouTube channel, you saw what I thought of Devin Singletary. I have him ranked in around 32 or something among running backs this week. The workload is not all there yet, but he was good. I wouldn't say spectacular, but I would say good. He was good. When I think that's probably what he's going to be in his career. John Brown, fortunately got the touchdown. I think I might have said in the podcast, like, that's all he did. It definitely wasn't all he did. I apologize for that. That was sort of a fired off take that was not correct. My feeling is I'm just shocked how much they had Josh Allen throwing right away. And it really didn't work all that well. There were a lot of mistakes. There were 4 turnovers, and 2 of them weren't really his fault, but 2 of them sure were. I think I might lean Singletary, but Singletary seems safer, but John Brown obviously has a better chance to make a big play. Brett says Christian Kirk was cut in my league. That's crazy. You should pick him up. I don't know who you're going to drop, but Christian Kirk should not have been cut. He's the number 1 receiver for Arizona. I still firmly believe that he will turn out to be the number 1 receiver for Arizona. Larry Fitz had done really very little until overtime, so but none of them had. They really fourth quarter and overtime, none of them had done anything. Kirk will be good. Kirk will be fine. You should add him. It's tough for me to say. I know that there's someone on your roster who's below him because I don't know your roster, but he should be owned. If you're asking a running back question, this running back or that running back, that wide receiver, you're going to be frustrated because I'm not going to answer it because my opinion is baked into my ranks, which are on harrisfootball.com. Dominic says, should I continue to hold on to Melvin Gordon? You can't cut him. You drafted him pretty high. You can't cut him. Yes, you should continue to hold on. Josh Gordon or Chris Godwin. Those are wide receivers. See, those are wide receivers. I'm not going to answer. You got to go to harrisfootball.com. Where do you think AJ Green, says Ryan, will fit into your ranks when he returns? I mean, right when he returns, the week he returns, there's a chance we're a little bit lower on him, right? Because we want to see, is it real? He came back last year after his toe injury, ran 1 play, non-contact, fell down, needed toe surgery. So I would feel somewhat, that first week I'd be a little concerned. But just generally speaking, if he's back and he's himself, he's going to be back to being a top 15 wide receiver. He's a great, great player. I believe he probably still is a great, great player. Okay, let me say that we're sponsored by BetDSI, and if you are looking for a place to play the games, BetDSI is where I play. Start an account there. You don't need to deposit much. I think as soon as you deposit, Cousin Josh just started an account there, and they called him up. As soon as he deposited, they called him up. And they said, hey, we're here. We just want to make sure if you have any questions. And he was like, you are? Oh, God, okay. I should do that with a phone. I was pantomiming a phone, and I had a phone sitting right here. And by the way, I don't know if you can see this. Cousin Josh has texted me 4 times since we've been doing this. 36 minutes ago, 36 minutes ago, 35 minutes ago, and 7 minutes ago. Okay. And he's talking about his bets. Let's see what Cousin Josh said. I'm taking Carolina. He says, super contest. If I'm taking Carolina, I need my picks before the game, right? Josh is not watching this, but yes, for the super contest, you have to submit all the picks if you want Carolina. But Josh now has an account there, so he's bothering me about his wagers. And BetDSI is great. It's fun to just be able to pick up your phone and be watching tonight's game. You could do it as soon as tonight and say, I'm going to take the points, Carolina, or give the points, Carolina minus, 7-ish. I'm not sure exactly what it is right now. It works great. It's fun. We have 2 promo codes for you. If you're an old vet, if you play a lot, use Harris Tube. If you're brand new and you're like a little nervous about doing it, don't be nervous. It'll work out fine. But also use the promo code HarrisTube5 because that makes it a little bit easy. They won't match your deposit as much, but it makes it a little easier for you to cash out the actual balance that's in your account. I recommend it. BetDSI, they're great. They sponsor the podcast. They sponsor this. BetDSI.com. All I can say. It's really good. It works. I play all the time. I play like $10 a game. It's fun. Okay. People are still asking single position questions because of course they are. But Justin's not. He says Joe Mixon or Stephon Diggs. I don't have a great answer for you now because I don't know Mixon's status. My tendency would say let's just play Diggs and be safe. But Mixon would have a ton of upside if all this is sort of overblown and he feels fine and they're just resting him and whatever. My answer for you on Thursday is Diggs, but my answer for you could change over the weekend if we get great reports about Mixon. That would probably be my answer. Telugu says, should I drop Kerryon Johnson? No. Don't drop superstars. Don't drop players who you took in the first few rounds. You want to stick with guys, especially after 1 week if they're not hurt. It'll be fine. In fact, you should be starting Kerryon Johnson. He'll probably have a really nice game. Troy has a good question. What's the best way to navigate your ranks if I'm in a half-point per reception league? Just look at the PPR ones. That's fine. Honestly, there's not a massive difference in my rank. I mean, I do the standard ranks first, and then I look at the usual suspect PPR guys, and I go, you get a bump, you get a bump, you get a bump. So you know who the usual suspect PPR guys are, and you can maybe lessen their bump a little bit. If you really want to get into it, look at the comparison and say, all right, Tariq Cohen, maybe you shouldn't quite be that high, but let's knock you down a couple spots and that's good enough. Or just use the PPR ranks. That's fine. It accounts for some upward mobility for high reception guys, right? I think that's all we're really looking at. Steven says, Curtis Samuel. I lost it, Steven. It was Curtis Samuel or somebody. I'm going to get it back. I'm going to get it back. By hook or by crook. Steve says, Curtis Samuel or Duke Johnson? I think I would play Duke Johnson. It's funny, the Curtis Samuel expectation game feels like it got a little bit out of control at the end of the summer. I said this on the podcast today. I do a list called 5 post-hype sleepers, and I put Curtis Samuel on the list because it felt like in the beginning of August, the first 10 days of August, I wasn't hearing anything about him. And then the Curtis Samuel market went crazy, and he went from like the 9th round to the 6th round or something, and everybody said, he's just as good as DJ Moore. What are you doing? And I don't know. We'll watch him tonight. Maybe that will turn out to be a prophetic comment. It's only 1 game. It's much more about me feeling like Samuel's a little more of an athlete. Matt Harmon would say he's a great route runner. I haven't really seen it, but we'll see it tonight. And I feel like I want to see it first, and I might play. Samuel probably has the upside of 1 big play. What a fast guy. He can take a reverse to the house. I'm going to call it right now. Curtis Samuel takes a reverse to the house. But he usually gets a reverse per game. So does Moore. He does as well, DJ Moore. I think I'd probably play Duke Johnson, though. Let's see. Robbie says, should I trade Antonio Brown in Dynasty for DK Metcalf? I would not. I would be hanging on to Antonio Brown. He's an awfully good player. I think he still probably it's not a bad question. I still think you're getting a lot of usefulness over the next few years out of Antonio Brown wherever he plays. And DK Metcalf had a great first game, but Antonio Brown's probably the best physical receiver in the league. So there's a lot of nonsense that goes along with him, clearly, and the nonsense got a lot more serious this week. But I wouldn't give up on him for DK Metcalf just now. Adam says, Des Bryant, any value? Should I stash him now? I don't know. I mean, apparently he wants to play. I mean, unless there's been news in the last 50 minutes. Apparently he wants to play, working out, all that stuff. It would have to be a very deep league. I mean, I'm in a 12-team league with 26-man rosters, and I don't think he's owned. So I did not. Let's put it this way: I did not rush out to own him this week. I did not rush to pick him up. Harris, I infer from today's podcast that you'd flex Devontae Freeman ahead of Kupp and Diggs, even in PPR. Really? I don't know. Would I? I guess if you're saying infer like you're doing the crossover points and stuff, I might have felt that way. I don't know. Maybe not. I feel like it's close enough where if you don't feel that way, part of the reason I don't do flex ranks also is that it's just maddening. Like a linear list where you go, I don't know. I guess I kind of like Freeman over this guy, but I have that guy rated ahead of that guy in wide receiver ranks because I think that guy just has a little more upside or a better quarterback or something. And then you start pulling them all apart, and it's like a house of cards. It all falls apart. Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard for me to be a fantasy expert. What a stupid job. I don't share Andy Behrens' panic about Devontae Freeman just yet, but if you do, I get it. His panic is much more about Ito Smith, I think, and I don't know. Maybe that's worthwhile panic. We'll see more as we go along. Let's see. What do we got? I'm going to try to go forward a little bit. Again, I see wide receiver questions. I got 385 likes. Can we get up to 400 likes? That'd be amazing. Let's get up to 400 likes. Can we do it? If you've already liked, then maybe subscribe to the channel. That would be awesome. We got 390. We're at 390 with the likes. We're at 399 with the likes. I think we can get to 400, though. Oh, 408. We did it. So, again, if you're asking a single position question, if you're interested, like what quarterback would you start, this guy or that guy, that is answered for you at harrisfootball.com. Just really easy. Click on over to harrisfootball.com. The ranks are right there. You'll see all my ranks. You can get in the habit of doing it every single week. It's great. BFWSK says, what are your thoughts on Mark Andrews? So Andrews winds up producing a big-looking stat sheet. I just don't know what we can tell, first of all, from that Ravens game. But also, first, I said this in the podcast, but the first tight end to catch a pass was Nick Boyle. The second tight end to catch a pass was Hayden Hurst. The third tight end to catch a pass was Mark Andrews at the half when the Ravens were winning by 40, I believe. Mark Andrews had 2 catches, and the other guys had 1 each. And then there was some big action late in the game, and it was a blowout. And I'm glad Andrews got you some points. Got people points, but I don't look at it and go, that means it's all his job. Like I have concerns still that it's not all his job. That we're gonna have situations where people go, wait a minute. I was promised Mark Andrews was the man, and Hayden Hurst has a 75-yard touchdown. What's going on here? If Hayden Hurst has a 75-yard touchdown, that would be a big story. He's not that fast. But, my feeling is Mark Andrews still has a lot to prove in terms of how the Ravens are going to use him. Now, Nick Boyle is much more a blocker, but they will throw it to him on occasion, and he's on the field more. The snaps played in the first half, I think very clearly Andrews was third. So I just basically have some reluctance to go, cool, I'm all in on Mark Andrews, but that reluctance could certainly go away. It's just a matter of seeing what happens on the field, no question about it. Alex, good question. What's your dynasty gut feeling about Geis? Yeah, I have him in a dynasty league. My gut feeling got worse. But I wouldn't hesitate to say, oh, he's just brittle. Because one knee blows, the other knee blows. Like, that blows. But, he can certainly be fixed. And Adrian Peterson came back from a late season torn ACL and ran for 2,000 yards. Like, it certainly can happen. I would hesitate to say, and this means the kid can never play in the league. But it's a physically demanding position, and he's, you can make the argument they fix these things and he comes back stronger than ever. You could also make the argument that they take cartilage out when you have a torn meniscus and it's never quite the same. So it's definitely a downgrade. I wouldn't say you can do anything with him in a deep dynasty league where there's not a lot of options. you can't really trade him. He's not worth anything right now. You just sort of have to suck it up, and I think it's a downgrade. I think if I'm doing Dynasty ranks right now compared to where I was doing ranks 3 weeks ago for Dynasty, it's a lot lower. It stinks. Mr. W says, what will you do with Hunter Henry? Yeah, I mean, it depends on your league. Just depends on your league. He's out for a long time, a broken bone on his leg, 4 to 6 weeks, they say. I'm skeptical that it's that soon, but they don't want to put him on IR, so that's interesting. Maybe it is. It's that tibial plateau fracture that we've heard about in the past. If you're in a league where there are options readily available, then I guess you drop him. If you're in a league where you can reserve guys who don't play, that's you would like to do that. In a lot of leagues, I'd like to stick with him, but if he's the worst player, if injured, he's the worst player on your bench, and you need roster spots, it's going to get tougher once the bye weeks start, which isn't that far away. Kiefer says, Terry McLaurin or Devin Singletary for flex? That's a good question, Kiefer. I haven't talked too much about Terry McLaurin. Interested to see if he can do it again this week. I think I'd probably play Singletary between the two of them. I liked what I saw from McLaurin in the first half. Not much happened for Washington's offense in the second half. But I thought good. I thought Paul Richardson looked a little bit more like the focal point, and McLaurin felt like of a defense, in other words. And McLaurin felt a little more like, great, he's getting some one-on-one matchups and doing okay against them. But maybe things adjust as we go along, and maybe a little more attention for him might. It's just tough to know what he is at this point. I think I would use Singletary. The workload feels a little more guaranteed. Let's see. What do we got? DJ Moore or Miles Sanders, says Ryan. That's a very good one. Very good one. I just think I can talk about the players. I don't have a strong take to say, I know for sure you blah, but sometimes it just helps to hear the person talk about the players. Miles Sanders, I thought looked explosive, looked good. Just Darren Sproles, you played so much. Even snap count wise, Sanders was way ahead of Howard and way ahead of Sproles, but and I think that's good because the Eagles clearly trusted Miles Sanders in pass protection right away, and he did a really good job in pass protection. We're all going to see it. It's a national TV game against the Falcons Sunday night. But boy, Darren Sproles just got a lot of work, got a lot of touches, and I don't like to see that at all. And then DJ Moore, I thought looked pretty good. I'm going to say DJ Moore, even though if you're asking me season-long ranks, I'm still pretty darn bullish on how Miles Sanders actually looked. And I can see a world where he gains enough trust and the Eagles start to kind of tip the scales a little bit in his favor. I kind of want to see it. And we were imagining a two-headed monster with Jordan Howard. And now, boy, after watching that game, it felt like a three-headed monster, and that's not that great. But if I'm honest, I liked David Montgomery more than I liked Miles Sanders in the NFL draft. Just based on one game's worth of film, which is not a definitive, but based on one game's worth of film, I liked Miles Sanders better. I liked Montgomery was okay. I didn't think he didn't accelerate like Sanders, which is not a surprise, but also I didn't think like he cutted. I didn't think he cut like Sanders either. Cutted. He also didn't cutted like him. Daryl says, Marquise Brown or Hollywood Brown in a standard trade. It seems to me you'd grossly kind of – I don't know. I think it's probably fair. It's like Peterson doesn't have a huge ceiling, but he ran for 1,000 yards last year, and he could still be okay. He could still be a flex when you're in a kind of a gnarly position. And Marquise Brown, fantastic output last week, but of course probably the best game of his rookie year because of course it probably will be. And then he's a rookie, and I just don't know what. I don't know. He might be Antonio Brown. He might be his cousin, right? But it's a long way from here to there, and usually guys struggle as rookies. And so you probably have more upside possibility with Marquise Brown, but you almost certainly have more games where you wind up looking at their season logs, and Peterson will probably outscore Marquise Brown in more weeks just because for as long as Geis is out, which could be quite a long while, he's going to get a lot of work. He's going to get 15 touches probably, and Chris Thompson probably get 15 touches too. And it won't be all that super valuable. Sometimes it'll be 15 touches for 54 total yards, but there are chances for touchdowns in there that a fast wide receiver probably doesn't have on a weekly basis. So let's see. Mr. Trinkles. I almost said Mr. Tinkles. Mr. Trinkles, sorry about that. Allen Robinson or Shady McCoy as flex. I think I'll go Robinson. Tim McIntyre says, should I trade Corey Davis for Hawkinson? I think if I'm doing season ranks right now, Corey Davis is probably still ahead of TJ Hawkinson. But you might need a tight end, and it doesn't seem outrageous to me to say I'll take a chance on the guy who had the one big week, and maybe he's going to be an exception to the rookie tight end rule, and he'll be really, really good. It's possible. Corey Davis, of course, didn't do a lot, and it makes it look kind of rough to start with. And if Corey Davis is a total bench play, Corey Davis is going to 8th, 9th, 10th round. If he's like your wide receiver 4 or 5, and you want to take a shot on Hawkinson, it doesn't strike me as terrible value. If I'm saying if I were doing a draft right now, I still think I'd probably take Corey Davis over TJ Hawkinson, but I don't think you'd get if you're trying to sort of like for like bench player kind of thing. I don't mind it to say like, let me take the chance on the exciting tight end. I have a problem at tight end. I don't hate it. Let's see. I'm gonna do a lightning round here, and then I got to get out of here about 5 more minutes. Again, lots and lots of questions where you're just asking this wide receiver or that wide receiver for week 2. I don't know. I mean, people are probably jumping in and jumping out. I have a set of web pages where we're completely, that's what it's devoted to. This wide receiver, that wide receiver, I did the work for you. Just harrisfootball.com. Just check it out. Chase has a flex question. DJ Moore or James White? That's a tough one. I mean, I talked about Moore a little bit already. I really like him. I think he's Steve Smith. I think he's going to be a really, really good player in the league. Maybe not as good as Steve Smith. I think he's going to be really good. I picked James White for DraftKings this week. I like James White. I can see using him for sure. We know exactly what his deal is. I probably play Moore, but of course, I understand what can go wrong for Moore tonight, and I understand what can go right for James White. I think it's a coin toss, 51-49. So Cade, I know you dressed that up as a flex question, Cade. They're just 3 running backs, buddy. They're just 3 running backs. Go to harrisfootball.com, look up the running back ranks, and you'll have your answer. iHeartBeats says Devin Singletary or DK Metcalf at a flex in standard league. I'm going to probably – so I talked about Metcalf for flexual healing on the show today, so listen to the podcast for a little more thoughts on Metcalf. I'm trying to get a lightning round here. Bottom line is I probably need to see it again. Loved what I saw. I'd probably play Singletary this week. So let's see. We had a complaint here, probably a valid complaint. I'm open to constructive criticism when it comes to this. A speed round. He spends 2 minutes on each question, explains the rationale. You jerk. He didn't say you jerk. He just said, that's not really a speed round. And you know what? That is a fair comment. I can take it. Because you phrased it nicely. You didn't call me a jerk. I'll go faster. Derek says, should I start a dinner or a fight? Oh, come on, dinner. Dave says, thoughts on – oh, I lost it, Dave. Let me find it again. Thoughts on Danny Mendola's role in the offense? Is he the new golden dump-off? It looked like pretty dumpy in that one, yeah. Cam says, should I pick up Golden Tate? Sure. I think it's fine. You're going to get him in a few weeks. Let's see. Cortland Sutton or John Ross. Those are wide receivers. I'm not going to answer. Go to harrisfootball.com. Okay, now I am Gurian 1220. Stop yelling. I got it. Stop yelling. Don't be a jerk. You weren't being a jerk. Now you're a little bit of a jerk. Get buckets. Ronald Jones or TJ Hawkinson in a full point per reception. I don't have a strong take for you there. So if it's me, I might say Jones, but I don't have a super strong take. It's a fair question. Breida versus John Brown, I would say probably Breida. He was the most asked about player. Listen to the podcast today. That'll give you a better sense. Jay says Sony Michel or Chris Godwin. Another really good one I don't have a super strong take on. I might play Godwin. Can Lockett keep up the efficiency, says Ryan? I mean, no, not based on 2 catches and 1 touchdown, no. But he can certainly be better. Should I stash Tate, says Cam? I'm fine with it. So I am Jurian. You're screaming at me to hurry up, and now you're asking me a quarterback question. That's a little bit of a missing link there. I'm not sure that you're the one to be casting stones. Let's see. Does Darnold having mono hurt Le'Veon Bell's value? Should I try trading Le'Veon? No, I mean, it's not great, but Le'Veon Bell's really good. I probably wouldn't. John says, better season-long stash, Terry McLaurin or Dante Pettis? I'm still going to say Pettis, but I am wavering. Sterling Shepard or David Montgomery? I mean, Shepard has the concussion. It feels safer to me. Just this week, let's go with Montgomery. Let's see. Jay Marshall, that's a wide receiver question. Go to harrisfootball.com. You'll find my wide receiver ranks. Damian Williams or as my RB2. Again, I just can't even get through to all of you. Are you not hearing me? If you're asked for a running back question, just look up the ranks. Let's see. Jarvis Landry or Matt Breida? Dan says, and I'm probably going to totally contradict what I said in the Matt Breida part of Flexual Hailing. I can't remember even where I have Jarvis Landry ranked. I would say my instinct is Breida, but check it out. Check out the Flexual Hailing part of the podcast today. Michael says the kissing disease. Yeah, he has mono. Let's see. Aaron Jones or Tyler Boyd in a PPR? I think I'd play Boyd. Jalen Hurd will be the guy in San Francisco. Could be. I kind of don't think so. Let's see. I got another running back question. Do you like roller coasters or turtles? I'm going to say neither. Do I have to pick? Quinn says, I propose you flat out ignore all questions that could be answered via rankings and leave it to the chat. Leave it to chat to school the cavemen. Okay. School the cavemen. Please do. Drop Tevin Coleman or Geis. I mean, I think I'd be more likely to drop Geis. Do you have Kerryon Johnsons? Are you a Wizinator? How much fab would you spend on Melvin Gordon? Probably not much. If he was cut in your league, I would, $5, probably no more than that, just because there's big uncertainty. I mean, I get the logic that says spend 50, but what if you get nothing for it? It is a little bit scary. Do you see a little bit of Alvin Kamara and Justice Hill? He's a lot smaller, so it's tough. No, I guess not yet. I definitely see the speed. The speed is really good, but I probably don't see the thunder aspect of what Alvin Kamara has. And not that Kamara is like a big beast, but 215 is different than I think he's listed at 200 Justice Hill. I'm somewhat skeptical. Are turtles an avowed enemy of a possum? Hey, are turtles an avowed enemy of Hold on. I can't get his attention. He's hammered. The possum is hammered. Watkins or Gurley in the flex? Woo! Good options. I probably going to play Todd Gurley, but good options. I get it. Josh Gordon or Josh Jacobs this week? I don't have a strong take, and I'm not allowed to talk about them. I would say I would probably play Gordon and give Jacobs one more week to prove it. But he looked pretty good. He did look pretty good. Let me do a few more. Is Andy Dalton going to throw it 50 times again? That's a great question. That was a surprising game plan. That was before Joe Mixon was hurt. Let's see it again. Mr. Moretti says, old fashions can sneak up on you, especially when you're possum-sized. That is absolutely true. Josh Gordon or Sony Michel. I would probably play Gordon. But I think it's a valid question. All right. That's going to have to be it for this one. I got to go record some other stuff. We're going to do a podcast for tomorrow. Going to do a YouTube show for tomorrow morning, probably somewhat based on Carolina Tampa Bay. And then maybe I'm going to try to throw in some other film in there as well. So check out the YouTube channel. Please subscribe. It really does. Smash that like button. That would be great as well. This is really fun. Thank you so much for being here. BetDSI, thank you for sponsoring. And go to BetDSI.com. You're going to watch this game right now. Go to BetDSI.com. Use the promo code Harris25 if you're a newbie. They'll match 5% of your deposit. They'll call you up and say, hey, everything cool? We're happy to have you. And then you can bet on this game. I think I'm on – wait, let me check. I bet this one already. Who am I on? I I think I said Tampa, right? I'm pretty sure I'm on Tampa by like a half a point. I don't feel super strongly about it. But if you're interested in playing along with me, I got it at Tampa +7, which it may not be anymore, but I got it at +7. So BetDSI. Anyway, thank you again. For those of you in the Film Don't Lie Facebook group, I will see you on Sunday to talk again. And otherwise, thanks very much. We'll see you. Bye-bye.